Good morning. We're learning the second chapter of Tractate Eruvin. The name of the chapter is Oisim Pasim. We're holding in page 24. And we'll start from the top, from the words Elai Itmar Achi Itmar. Okay. So the Gemara concludes that Rav Huna, the son of Rabbi Yeshua, could not have permitted mostly planted karpaf, because the moment it's planted, then it's a garden.
Right.
So remember the definition of karpaf was, we said the definition of karpaf that it was not planted. We said if you look in it says this 5,000 in an area larger than 5,000 square amas, enclosed for purposes not related to daily living. Sure is Carmelis. Now, this will be some further introduction. An area enclosed for non-residential purposes. So remember that definition. An area enclosed not for residential purposes.
Right.
Okay, so over here, what happens, he writes, if the place is mostly planted, if something was said by Rav Huna the son of Yeshua about this is what was said. The original ruling stated that if most of the karpaf was planted, carrying is prohibited. This implies that if the lesser part of the karpaf had been planted, that would be permitted. We're dealing with a place where it has less than 2 seyas, meaning less than 5,000 square amas. Also, but if it has 5,000 amas, has 2 seyas, carrying is prohibited throughout the enclosure. Since with this size, the planted area is significant, it is not subsidiary to the unplanted area, and it is therefore prohibits the entire enclosure.
So over half is planted, and therefore the whole thing becomes not able to carry.
Right, come on, kerabonon. So according to the rabbis who prohibit carrying from a permissible karpaf to a chotzer. Now, Rav Yirmiyah Difti Matne Lekulo. Rav Yirmiyah of Difti teaches the ruling of Rav Huna, the son of Yeshua, in a more lenient manner. The implication is that if only lesser part of the karpaf had been planted, carrying would be permitted. Didn't we say 2 beiseah, and we do not say so except when the planted area is 2 beiseah and permitted on its own. Also, the moment that it's more than 2 beiseah becomes prohibited. Keman, whose opinion is that Rabbi Shimon, according to Rabbi Shimon, who permits carrying from a karpaf to a chotzer. Therefore, as long as the planted area is no larger than 2 beiseah, it is permissible area, and one may carry from it to the unplanted area, like you see in the diagram, planted area and the unplanted. Just as one is permitted, according to Rabbi Shimon, to carry from a karpaf the size, from a karpaf this size to a chotzer. However, when the planted area is larger than 2 beiseah, making it a forbidden area in its own right, Rabbi Shimon agrees that one may not carry anywhere in the enclosure. The Gemara introduces the next discussion with a quote from the Bais above. If most of the karpaf was planted with trees, it is like a chotzer, and carrying is permitted. Most of the karpaf was planted with trees, it is like a chotzer, and carrying is permitted. This is true if the trees are arranged in rows, making it a pleasant place to sit, and unusable and a usable area. Rabbi Uda said in the name of Avimi, this is true. What did we say before? If most of the karpaf was planted with trees, it is like a chotzer, and carrying is permitted. So it says, what does it mean? Only when there is stabolis. What is this stabolis? The trees are arranged in rows, making it pleasant to sit. And it's not like a forest, it's
An orchard.
An orchard, or it's
Yeah, I understand.
they're making a usable area.
I got it.
Rav Nachman said even if it doesn't make even if the trees are not in rows, it is still a usable area and carrying is permitted. He saw that these karpavs in which the trees had been planted were not arranged in rows. The people carrying in them. Master not agree with the ruling of Avimi. Rav Yehuda answered, he says, I agree with the opinion of Rav Nachman, who permitted carrying in this type of karpav. The moment that there is more than 2 sales, more than 5,000 amos, and it was not for residential purposes, that's the definition of karpav. Right. He should make a breach in the enclosure more than 10 amos wide, and there, so he makes, listen to this, he makes a breach, and then he fences it again, to restore the breach to no more than 10 amos. And then carrying is then permitted, because the karpav has now been re-enclosed for residential use. If he did that, he made a breach, he closed it, he made another breach, and he broke the fence, and he made another, and then he closed it, until he completed, instead of doing one breach of 10 amos, he made small ones, completed them, ultimately he got, accumulatively, he made 10 amos.
He's a developer.
Didn't we learn called clay the measure of all homeowners' utensils to lose their tuma is a hole the size of a pomegranate, meaning the hole must be the size
to make the thing useless,
to remove their tuma.
Right.
Chizkiah said, if he made a puncture the size of an olive and he sealed it, the moment you make a hole, it becomes not usable. It's not a kli, and therefore it doesn't.
Right.
And it's like you're saying, there's something, you break something, you correct it by breaking it. So making a hole corrects it because it's not a kli, and the kli, if it's not a kli, it's not mekabel tuma.
Right.
So what size of a hole you need to make? You don't need to shatter it. You need to just make a hole the size of a pomegranate.
Right.
The question is, what if it made the size of an olive?
Yeah,
He made a puncture the size of an olive, sealed it. And he made another puncture, size of an olive, and he sealed it. Until he completed a plug the size of a pomegranate. What is the law? Does its tuma depart in this fashion or not? Chizkiah's question is similar to our question, whether a series of small breaches and repairs suffice to re-enclose a karpav. Understand the question. He says, we learned before that if I have a karpav, assuming this is the karpav, 5,000 amis, non-residential use, I want to make it a chotzer. He says to make it a chotzer, you got to make a breach of 10 amis, and then close the breach. And by closing it, you re-titling the enclosure as a chotzer, and I'll allow you to carry now. So he says, what happened if I make a small, instead of 10 amis breach, I make a small breach, and I close it, and make another small breach and close it? Would it be sufficient to redesignate the area? So why is the karpaf not good enough for carrying? Because it was more than 2,000, more than 2 beiseah, more than 5,000 amos. Rabbi Shoni Solonu, you taught us sandal shenifseko echas me'ozon v'tikna, a sandal from which one ear broke off. Your sandals, your shoes, and he repaired it. One of its
a strap or whatever.
One strap fell off.
One ear fell off.
One ear fell off, and he repaired it. Tome midos. It is still Tome midos because it's still a kli. It's still your shoes. Nifsek oshniya v'sikno. If the second one broke off, he repaired it. Tohir. It becomes toil from the midos tuma, from stepping. Midos is to step on something. Aval tome maga midos. But it remains tome as having touched a midos.
That's how. Right. A midrash is a part of a corpse. No.
No. Midras is the actual stepping on something. When you step on something, it's called midras. You stepped on something that is not toil, whatever it is.
Sure, it's all right.
Whatever.
I got it.
So look at 22. It says, a sandal without any ears is totally unusable and therefore loses its tuma. Since both ears have broken, we regard the sandal as having no ears. Even though the first ear was already repaired before the second ear broke, consequently the sandal loses the midos tuma status, which is required prior to the breaking of the first ear. Nevertheless, the sandal retains the lesser level of tuma of a utensil that has touched a midos. So it's like a second degree of tuma when, bless you, the second degree of tuma. So 1 second. You, my teacher, commented about this. Why is it that when the first ear broke, the sandal remained tame? You're still considering it usable and remains tame. He says because because the second ear is still there. The second part, so the sandal is somewhat still functioning. Now shnia nami akamarishon, and the second ear broke. The first one is still fine because you already fixed the first one, right? So let's say this is the 2 ears of the sandal. The first ear broke.
Yeah.
We said the sandal is still usable and therefore is susceptible to tuma.
When you retied it.
Well, now I fixed this one.
Right.
And the second one broke.
Right.
So we say that now it's tumah.
Right.
Now it's susceptible to tuma. Now it's not. No. Now it's not susceptible to tuma. Meaning it's not usable. The sandal is not usable and therefore not susceptible to tuma. Only to a lesser degree of tuma.
Right.
So he said, why not? The first one is there.
Yeah.
So meaning the sandal is usable. You fixed the first one.
Yeah.
So he answers, a new face has come into being here, meaning the new ears are not considered part of the original sandal. Therefore, once both ears have broken off, what remains of the original sandal has been rendered useless. Its tuma has departed. The usable repaired shoe is a new creation, and it has never become tameh as a midras. So it says this is the fixing that you did. It's a new creation, and has nothing to do with the tuma. We're considering it ponim chadoshes. The Gemara says, well, okay, if you're going with that argument, ponim chadoshes, new. There's a new situation here, new face has come into being. So say the same thing about here. Here, in the case of utensils, you can say also ponim chadoshes. The Gemara says, "Kori alei leis dein bar inash." He exclaimed about Rabbi Yochanan, "This is no mere mortal." Igadar gondin bar nash. Some say that Chizkiah exclaimed, "Someone like him is a great person." This principle applies as well to the Gemara's original question regarding the wall that was breached and repaired amma by amma for 10 plus ames. Even though the first breaches were closed, they were open at one time. Since the total rebuilt section of wall exceeds 10 ames, the original enclosure has been nullified. The repaired enclosure is in effect a new creation. That's how I'm considering it. In fact, it's new creation which was erected for residential purposes. Therefore, it is permitted carrying. And now we can see the connection between the sandals and the karpaf.
So the sandals become upon hadasha when you fix both sides. So here you're
no, even when you fix the first one, when the second one broke, we are visualizing it as if the first one is still broken because the first one is a new existent. It's not the original ear.
All right. Well, here the guy.
So the same thing over here. It says what he fixed. It's a new thing. It's a new creation.
Yeah, but it's kind of obvious. Okay, you take the carpet, like let's say down on Lyons, that big land across the street there. So let's say that's not divided, which I don't know. So if it's divided up, then it's a different, and you put fences around it and build houses, it's a different deal than it is today. So wouldn't that be obvious? That
Well,
you're subdividing
the issue over here is that you have a karpaf, an area not designated for residential use that is more than 5,000 amos.
Right.
If it's 5,000 amos, you can carry in the karpaf.
Right.
So what do? You redesignate it. You
Right.
turn it into a chotzer.
Right.
By turning it into a chotzer, now I'm going to be able to carry in it.
Right.
But the way to do it is make a breach of 10 amos. But he
Right.
didn't want to make a breach of 10 amos. He wanted to make a smaller breaches, amma by amma.
Well,
So we'll
then
say,
it's ridiculous.
no, so he said still okay because we're considering those, even though it's closed now, meaning let's say he got to number 9, amma number 9, he's now starting number 10.
Yeah.
The other 9 are already closed. He sealed those breaches.
Yeah.
But we're considering them as if it's a new creation, a new thing, and as if the breaches are still there, right? The new tying of the fence is a new concept, a new thing, and as if the breaches are still there. The back lot that is behind houses, to which the houses customarily have no doorway. We may not carry in it except within 4 amos. If its area exceeded 2 beiser, since the back lot is not directly accessible from the homes, its enclosure was not for residential purposes and carrying is forbidden. If you made an opening, is allowed to carry in the entire area, in the entire back lot. The entrance renders it permissible. So we're dealing with a case when he opened the entrance to the back lot first, and the area was enclosed later. In this case, it was enclosed to serve a dwelling area, so residential purpose. But if it was first enclosed and then he created an opening, he made the entranceway, and then it would not be permitted. Gemara says 1 second. If he opened and then he made an enclosure, obviously that would be okay. Why do you have to mention it? The isbei beidor. Now, Rav Nachman's ruling is necessary in the case where there is granary behind the house. You might say that he opened the entrance to the back lot with the intention of providing access to the granary, and not with the intention of using and eventually enclosing the back lot. Kamash Rav Nachman therefore informs us that the intention is certainly also to use the back lot for dwelling purposes. Therefore, once he enclosed the back lot, carrying is permitted.
But I understand now he said he had the machshava to make it for the granary, not for the houses. So, but now we're saying he still has the machshava for the houses.
I would think that since you can argue that his intention is not for the house, not for enclosure, it's for intention. His intention is for the granary. Comes Rav Nachman and tells you that I still think that he has somewhat intention for enclosure, and I'll consider it okay.
Okay, fine.
Why? Because he made an opening and then he made an enclosure. Karpaf a karpaf of more than 2 beiser that was enclosed for residential purposes, and subsequently it became full of water. The rabbis saw that it is like the karpaf with plants mentioned in the Baisa, and therefore carrying is prohibited. The Rav Brei, the Rav Misharshaya, of Abba, the brother of Rav, the son of Rav Misharshaya, told the rabbis, this is what we say in the name of Rav. Water. The flooded area is like a karpaf planted with trees, and carrying is permitted. This is true only if the water which flooded the karpaf is fit for use. But not if the water is unfit for use.
Like I swamp. Who's want to go in there anyway?
David, I'm sure you're happy. Look at the page. It's a very short page.
Am I happy or he's happy?
No, David. David usually gets
I
excited
don't
when
think he's there now.
the page is short. David, you here? This is only if the water which flooded the karpaf is fit for use. But not if the water is unfit for use. Since the water is not usable, the area which it covers cannot be considered to serve as a residential purpose. Yeah, he said these here.
Oh, they're
You
good.
see? Good job.
All right.
And even if the water is fit for use, we do not say that the flooded area retains its residential classification unless its deep part covers no more than 2 beiseh. Also, but if its deep part covers more than 2 beiseh, carrying is prohibited. Deep water renders the area unusable.
Yeah, so who's going to go in there? You're not
Exactly.
going to go swimming.
Velav milsahi mided dava kardafir, because this is equivalent of a mound of produce, which does not. It's a little mountain of produce, which does not render the area unusable regardless of its height or the area it covers. So too, the water-covered area is not deemed an unusable area in spite of its depth.
Wow, all right.
You want to discuss another case of karpaf? There was this back lot in Pum Nahara, the Chad Gis Ave Pasiach Lamasa, which on one side opened to a mavoi of the town, Vechad Gis Ave Pasiach L'Shvil Shekom. So there's 2 opening, one to the town and one to the vineyards. We mentioned before granary. Granary is more of a place where they turned the grapes into wine, no?
Yeah.
But over here, speaking about a vineyard itself. Ushvil shekomim, but granary can be used also for olives, or we say olive press. So we don't. Can you use granary?
For like a chitim.
Oh, so it's no. Why did you? I was asked you if it's for wheat for grapes. So granary is only for primarily for wheat.
Yeah,
And so, what would you call the place that they squeeze the olives?
Olive press.
Olive press. And what would you call the place where they squeeze the grapes?
A winery.
Winery.
Right.
Okay,
Or
so
a
that
wine press.
wine. So that the granary that we mentioned before is for wheat. Okay.
Yeah.
So v'chad gis ha'pesiach zrishakom. So over here, there's one opening to the town, and one opening to a move of the town, and one opening is to the vineyards. And the vineyard itself had a path that went out to the bank of a river,
Right.
which had a height of 10 tefachim.
So that's a low. It's still low. It's like 3 feet.
If you look at the diagram, it shows you a vineyard leads to
The vineyard. Oh yeah, on the end there. Yeah. Okay, that's water on the left side. Okay.
back lot, then leads to a vineyard.
That's
Anyhow, so it says this back lot was larger than 2 base seah and therefore forbidden, since the mouth of the mavoi was completely open to the back lot, as was the entrance to the path. Both of these areas also become forbidden. So the people of Pum Nahar subsequently established residential use for the back lot. However, in order to permit it, it had to be re-enclosed for its new use. Breaking its stone walls and rebuilding them would have been difficult. So the people of Pum Nahar sought another solution, an easy way. So what did they do? Omar Rabbi Echin Navid. What should we do? How should we permit this area? La'avid le'mechitzo agudo denao, to erect a partition for it on the river bank to further enclose the path and indirectly enclose the back lot which opens to it, would be ineffective. Why? Because one cannot construct a legally significant partition atop a previous partition. Since the river bank is valid partition and encloses the path, anything constructed above it does not add to the enclosure. ולעבד לצורס הפסח הפומה דשביל של קרומים, and to erect a tzuras HaPesach for it at the mouth, i.e. entrance of the vineyard path, to serve as a new enclosure of the back lot, is also not a solution. Also, gamle shadyon lei, because the camels on their way to the river to drink would come and topple the tzuras HaPesach. They will break it. So what's the solution? So Abai says, let a lechi whose width is so negligible that the camels will not topple it. They will not break it. He be created, so let this lechi be created at the entrance to the vineyard path. And since the lechi is effective for enclosing the vineyard path, it is also effective for enclosing the back lot.
So wait a minute, are you putting the lechis by the river?
That's Abai's suggestion, to take a lechi and put it by the entrance to the vineyard path.
To be in
the vineyard path.
By the mave or
the back lot or the river, you're asking.
Okay, see that's what I'm saying? Okay.
Yeah, so you're asking whether the lechi should be placed by the back lot.
By the
if you look at the diagram, look at the back lot.
Looking at the diagram.
Right, so either by the river or obviously you want to put it by the vineyard, so you're able to access the vineyard.
So you'd put it in on the big opening, by the cluster.
Right.
Okay, fine, got it.
The entrance of to the vineyard path.
Okay, so you wouldn't put it by the river; you'd put it in the
exactly the other side. The migod the man l'shvisha komim, and since the lechi is effective for enclosing the vineyard path, mani nom lechav is also effective for enclosing the back lot. So if you put it on the vineyard opening, it will take care of the back lot as well. That's a bias suggestion. Amar le Rava. So Rava says lechi moy l'shvil shel kom dal. So if we're going to do that, if you allow this, people will say that a lechi is effective
for any path through the vineyards.
Right. For any path through the vineyards, even a path that does not end at a riverbank. However, the lechi is effective here only because the riverbank is valid partition at the end of the path. Therefore, meaning that the end of the river is creating the enclosure. Right. You have to look at the river as an enclosure. However, the lechi is effective here only because the riverbank is valid partition at the end of the path. Therefore, Rava rejects Abai's solution. Elamar avidnan le lechi lefischo demasa. We erect a lechi for it at the entrance from the back lot to the mavei of the town. The migio demane lechi lemasa. And since this lechi is effective for enclosing the mavei of the town, mehani nom lechava, it is also effective for re-enclosing the back lot. It says in 14, carrying in the mavoi was forbidden until now because the mavoi was completely open to the back lot. You can see it, the mavoi is open to the back lot. As mentioned above, the mavoi was separated from the Reshus Rabim on its other end. So one area was Reshus Rabim, and one side of the mavoi was Reshus Rabim, one entrance, and the other side of the mavoi is the back lot. As mentioned above, the mavoi was separated from the Reshus Rabim on its other end with a tzuras HaPesach. So they created tzuras HaPesach, as you can see in the diagram in 13. Therefore, it is enclosed on three sides, and only requires a lechi at the entrance to the back lot to separate it from the lot and permit carrying. Now, since this lechi is effective in permitting the mavoi, it is considered a new enclosure for the back lot as well. Rava was not concerned in this case that people might misinterpret the procedure. This is because the tzuras HaPesach at the end of the mavoi is very noticeable.
We're talking about at the top in between the houses there, by the top on the right side in the right corner of this, right? That's.
Listen to the 13. You'll understand. A lechi is sufficient only for a mavoi which enclosed on three sides.
Okay.
3 sides,
right.
by valid partitions.
Okay.
However, a mavoi open on both ends requires some form of enclosure on both ends.
Ah.
So in our case, the path which has the status of a mavoi, vineyard path, right?
Yeah.
The path which has the status of a mavoi is closed on its third side by the riverbank, right?
Yeah.
However, people may easily neglect this fact because the riverbank is not readily visible wall, so they think it's not an enclosure. Therefore, Rava was concerned that people would misinterpret the procedure and permit the mavoi open on both ends with one lechi. So Rava was not concerned in this case that people might misinterpret because you have Tzuras HaPesach at the beginning of the mavoi.
So okay. So now, okay, I have to ask again to make sure I understand. Okay. So on this picture, you go to the upper right hand corner. You have the what do you call it, going across at the top. Look on the right, on the top, in the right hand corner.
This diagram, right?
Upper right, yes. On the upper right hand corner, you have the thing going across. That's what it's showing, right?
You have a Reshus Harabim.
Right. That's at the top.
After Reshus Harabim, you have Tzuras HaPesach.
Yeah.
That's they made some kind of entranceway.
Right.
Okay. You're entering a mavoi.
And then they have the lechi at the end of that. At the end of the
No, 1 second. So you enter a mavoi, then you're going to a back lot, and then you have a vineyard, and then you have the river that's creating a wall, an enclosure.
So this one thing at the top is making everything permissible.
So we have 3 walls, but we need the 4th one. The 4th one is going to be a lechi. That's what Abai suggested, and he said, place the lechi by the entrance of the vineyard, and that would make the back lot.
So you have the.
And Rava's concerned that people might misinterpret that even 2 walls is fine because they wouldn't consider the river. A lot of people wouldn't know that the river is considered a wall, because you don't see a wall, so you think it's not. But in this case, you would be okay with a by suggestion because you have the Tzuras HaPesach, you have the entranceway opening in the beginning. So the Gemara now discusses whether carrying is permitted between the mavoi and the back lot. You see, mavoi and back lot, are you allowed to carry from one place to another? Ilka. Tiltul b'masa gufa. Shori. Carrying in the mavoi of the town itself, carrying in the mavoi of the town itself is permitted. Tiltul b'rechava gufa shori. And carrying in the back lot itself is also permitted. Since lechi separates the mavoi from the back lot, carrying in each by itself is certainly permitted. However, as for carrying from the mavoi of the town to the back lot, and from the back lot to the mavoi of the town, Pligei Rav Acha v'Ravina. Rav Acha and Ravina dispute the matter. Chad osa v'chad shori. One of them said it's okay, and one of them said it's not. Man de shori de oleka diurin, uman de osa zim nave v'diurin v'osi letaltulei. He says like this: the one who permits carrying between the back lot and the mavoi does so because there are no residents in the back lot. Uman de osa, and the one who prohibits carrying between the yard and mavoi did so because occasionally it will happen that there will be residents who will come to live in the back lot, and people will continue to carry because they will be unaware that this changes the law. Therefore, even when there are no residents in the back lot, it prohibits carrying between the lot and the mavoi. We'll stop here and we'll continue, God willing, tomorrow.
I might have to think about when you